I know you see me under colored lights. I know you're watching my body lie to run, boy, but you cannot hide. Watch your inhibitions fade away as we dance into the light of day. Don't think about it, just say my name. I know they say I'm dangerous, that I'm a little insane, but I just can't help it. I'm built for the pain. So treat me like fire burning. Your love is something I'm having. It's something I'm living. It's something I'm living. Feel the heat in something how you do it now. I see the same. You treat me like fire burning. Watch me go up in flames. Watch me go up in flames. Watch me go up in flames. Hold me close and kiss my neck. I know you don't seem quite lonely. Struggling to breathe in at the beat, but your inhibitions fade away as we dance into the light of day. Don't think about it, just say my name. I know they say I'm dangerous, that I'm a little insane, but I just can't help it. I'm built for the pain. So treat me like fire burning. Your love is something I'm learning. Get it sometimes it's love is something we're learning. Feel the heat in your veins. I told you would never be the same. So treat me like fire burning. Watch me go up in flames.
Gentlemen, how are we? That was Up in Flames by Lazewo. I don't know how to say it. If you liked it, I'll throw it in the group me. How we doing? It's been a while. Sorry about that. I've been a little busy, but happy to bring you part one of the final two-part series, the end of the season, the Commissioner's Report. Starting off, I never wrapped up the regular season. Our final standings, as you can see, I finished at the top, where I started and spent most of the year. 10-3 was my final record. Evan at 9-4, coming in second. Ben, Hunter at 8-5. Boomer at 7-6. All of those teams made the playoffs. Nino started off 5-0, if some of you guys remember. Went on to not win another game. Really? Nino, what the fuck? Jesus. Well, Nino is 5-8 and will be relegated to the junior varsity next season. He will have to pay a relegation fine for sucking so much. And so, Neen, you're going to have to do a lot of work next year to get back up to varsity. Greg has earned Nino's spot, finishing with a very impressive 9-4 record, given that Greg didn't draft a single person on his team, including Le'Veon Bell. He finished at 9-4 and the 2 seed overall in the playoffs. Brent at 6-7 and Sebastian were the last two teams in, the 7 and the 8 seed. Brent finished at 6-7. Sebastian, Dan both finished at 5-8, but Sebastian had the head-to-head advantage over Dan. Just saw Dan the other day. Dan didn't even know the season was over, and then he didn't make the playoffs. So that shows you how much he was invested in the season. But that's okay. We'll give him a pass because we're giving Andrew a pass because Andrew's not quitting the league, even though him and Botch both finished at 3-10. All right, playoffs. You might have asked, what's been going on? What happened? Well, I was the 1 seed. Greg was the 2 seed. Evan 3, Levinson 4, Hunter 5, Boomer Dangle 6, Brent 7, and Sebastian Brogan the 8 seed. Those were the matchups. I'll break them down for you quickly. I'll recap them. Head-to-head, Week 8, I beat Sebastian 127-119. I was favored by close to 20 points in this game. Seb really He just didn't stand a chance. I'm sorry, Sep. Better luck next year. Congrats on making the playoffs. The 2-7 matchup, Greg against Brent, 9-4, taking on 6-7. Greg beat Brent in the regular season by a score of 133-89. Brent was actually favored in this game, however, by 22 points. Greg either had an injury or one of his players probably just wasn't doing well anymore if he had someone on the Rams offense, or I'm not sure what happened, but to be losing 20 points in the pregame line means something's going on with your lineup, and inevitably Brent ended up beating Greg and knocking off the 2 seed. In the 3-6 matchup, Evan came in with the Week 8 slight advantage. He beat Boomer by a single point in Week 8. The line in this was Evan favored by 17 points. We picked Evan to win this game, but Evan did not show up because the Rams did not show up, and Boomer moved on to the second round of the playoffs. Finally, in the 4-5 game, arguably the closest game of the week, Ben had beaten Hunter in Week 2, 113-79, and the line in this game is 0.1 points. I picked Levinson to win. It was this game and my game were the two that I picked correctly. Round 2, I was taking on Lev, the 1 versus the 4, and then the 6 versus the 7. I thought it should have been reseeded, but I'm glad that it wasn't, because what happened? Well, I took on Lev. Lev had Cam Newton. Cam Newton didn't do so well. I wound up advancing. Boomer taking on Hunter. Oh, Jesus Christ. Boomer taking on Brent. Apologies to all those involved. Brent has been hot. He made a late run to get into the playoffs, and the hot team usually fares well because they have the right combination working toward the end of the regular season in the NFL, and Boom just didn't have it. I don't think the Chiefs helped him out. Mahomes didn't help him out as much as he has in past weeks, and he didn't get, even though Alshon Jeffrey had a big game, Boomer didn't get enough support from Mark Ingram and other vital components of his offense that allowed him to move on. Thus, the championship game. This week, I am taking on Brent, the 1 seed taking on the 7 seed for Minerva's Cup Minerva. As you can see, and as I mentioned earlier, Evan is a 2-time champion, Boomer, a 1-time champion. There's one guarantee in this game, and that's we will have a new champion on that trophy, and it will be a glorious sight. I hope it's my name. I was 10-3. As I mentioned, Brent 6-7. Well, what's the scoop? This is my first championship game appearance, and I'm damn glad to be here. I beat Brent in Week 3, 111-102, but Brent's roster is basically an entirely different group of guys aside from Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson's probably the most consistent person he's had in his lineup all year. My top scorer, Saquon Barkley, was my first-round draft pick at 4 overall. He really put the team on his back this year, and I think is going to win Rookie of the Year. I made 49 signings through the waiver wire this year, and that I think it's every year I've made just about the most adjustments and tinkering to my bench and my lineup. And that's why, gentlemen, my record is 36-20 overall with a 64% winning percentage. And you're probably like, dude, it's fantasy football. I'm like, yeah, it's fantasy football. And I have a winning percentage of 65%. So take that. All right, enough about me. Brent, this is his first championship game appearance as well. As you can see from this record up here, Brent doesn't fare so well in fantasy football. He's got a 39% winning percentage, yet this is his best season, not record-wise, but appearance-wise, to make it all the way to the championship game. His top scorer, Deshaun Watson, because he's been the most consistent piece of his offense. Brent's been adjusting every single position outside of quarterback the whole season. He's made 8 trades, 35 signings for the second most behind me. And as Hunter mentions in the group me, Brent knows how to work the waiver wire very well. He snubbed 2 players that I would have liked to put into my lineup this week, and he's just stashing them on his bench because he's a cocksucker and he knows that I would play him. But it's smart. It's smart. The business of fantasy football. All right, moving on. ACC standings. I'm not going to break these down for you. If you really care, this is how they finished up the season. The important thing is we finished at 9-3 with a 6-2 record, and we'll be taking on Matt Barbaccia's West Virginia Mountaineers, 8-3 from the Big 12 Conference in the Camping World Bowl in Orlando, Florida. The game's on December 28th at 5:15 on ESPN if you guys want to check it out. But I know that this will be a high-scoring affair. Will Greer is really trying to boost his draft stock in the NFL. He's got a rocket for an arm, started his career at Florida, smoked a little too much pot and got caught with it. And so he had to transfer to West Virginia, where they just don't give any fucks about anything. This will be a shootout. I like Syracuse in this game because I like the fact that we just locked up Dino. Dino's made a huge turnaround with our team from where Scott Schaefer left it in such a short amount of time, and we're back in a bowl game. But not only in a bowl game, we're in a competitive bowl game taking on a Big 12 powerhouse like West Virginia and an old rival. I highly recommend you watch it if you have time. Throw some money on it, get a rooting invested interest in it. But this will be a very good game. You can mark my words. All right, as I posted in the group, I'm going to round out today's episode recapping my PC as Game of Thrones characters. If you care, I'll give you a little bit of the breakdown why you are the character that you are. If not, hey, you can turn off the episode at this point. Tune in next week for a championship game recap and a preview, a look ahead to next year. What's going on? Where will the winter meetings be held? Or summer meetings? Because we're going to have an in-person fantasy football summit trip held sometime at some place at a to-be-determined date. But it's going to be great. We're going to get fucked up, and we're going to draft, have a live draft together because that's the move. And we are well overdue for some brotherhood, all right? Evan, this dude, I don't know his name. He's got an eye patch and a flaming sword. I found this photo. Evan seems to be pretty proud of it. Threw an eye patch on him. That's just about it. I can't really give you too much more than that. It just seems pretty fitting. Dan, well, this was mostly because I think Dan kind of looks like Stannis if Dan grew out a beard and grayed up his hair a little bit and wore his leather jacket like Stannis is wearing. I think they would look pretty similar. I'm not going to lie to you. However, it had nothing to do with the fact that Stannis was a very odd character and died a pretty poor death in the woods. It was more so from the physical resemblance. So there's a consolation. Brent as Daenerys. Brent, I've got to throw you some credit. You made it to the championship game, so you're going to get a championship caliber player and character comparison here. Daenerys Targaryen. She's a minx. She's smitten with Jon Snow, but you know, the whole 8 seasons of this show, she has been one of the primary reasons I tune in for it. So, Brent, congratulations. You are Daenerys Targaryen. Drink it in, soak it in, enjoy this championship run, because unfortunately I'm going to have to take the title home this weekend. Boomer, I don't need to say a single word. You're welcome. Andrew, Samwell Tarly. Now, I know Andrew's initial reaction was to be upset, and I can understand an initial upset. I understand just seeing it and be like, fuck, he called me the fat dude. And no, it has nothing to do with physical resemblance. I don't think you look anything like him. So he's got brown hair, you've got black hair. There it is. You know, you would not be Samwell Tarly. Well, you are Samwell Tarly in this comparison, but that's more because of Sam's recent role as a student, as a Grand Maester, or studying, a pupil of the Grand Maesters. I think that's how you say it. You are going to law school, which means you are joining the Grand Maesters of the law profession. And so that's why I picked it. So don't be upset. You don't look like Sam. No, you don't. But you're a nerd. All right. Hunter, Brienne of Tarth. I know Andrew wanted this one. I'm sure Brent wanted it as well. Anyone who might resemble Brienne of Tarth, why would you not want to be Brienne of Tarth? Hunter, there are too many similarities to count. The list is endless. Tall, blonde. What more do I need to say? Next, moving on. All right. So initially, I thought Tormund was the obvious one. He's the most badass character. He fucks shit up and gets all this pussy, this wild thing pussy, and, you know, he's the man, right? That sick beard. I had a sick beard, as you can see in this photo here. Look at that. It's sick. That's sick. So he's got a cool hammer, I think, a little sword. What's going on there? Regardless, Tormund and I, it's just too fitting, but I know some of you would be upset because you're like, all right, you're giving yourself the best character. What the fuck, Jamie? And I'm like, all right, fine. I'll appease the masses. I'll also be Sansa Stark, which means I'm the coolest dude character. And Sansa started off as a little bitch. I was a little bitch at one point. Probably when I was on IFC, I was whiny and annoying. I'm sorry about that. But Sansa had an annoying phase too. And then she had her episode with, what's his face, Ramsay Bolton. I didn't quite have that, but I almost died from a marathon. So, apples and oranges, right? Moving on. Botch, the Hound. Look at this. It's just so fitting. I thought this one was the most self-explanatory, but the beard, the brute strength, there it is. Botch is the Hound. Sebastian as Joffrey. I don't even need to elaborate. We're going to move on. Greg, Renly Baratheon. I know you don't know that character or don't remember him. He was the brother of Stannis. I think he was gay. I'm pretty sure he was gay. Greg, you have this photo that I will never not use in circulation in this show. And I think there's some physical resemblance. If you were to grow out a beard like that in your hair and put on some weird horned crown, like, you could have a next Halloween costume, my friend. I think I did you a favor. You're welcome. Nino, Grey Worm. Yep, nailed it. Nailed it. Lev as Ser Varys. You know, Ser Varys seems like he would be into teeth or something like that if he were in the modern world today. So Lev, he's a pretty prominent dude. He's still alive. He's a main character. You're a main character. Congrats on a good year at dentistry school. Hope it's going well. Hope to see you soon. All right, so winter is here. It's good to be back, gentlemen. Good to be recording an episode for you. And a reminder, this is only part 1. Part 2 still to come once the season wraps up. Hopefully I can recap a championship season for the Commissioners Ottoman, which would prompt a team name change. I'll put it here first. If I win, I'm changing my team name. Maybe I'll change it anyway. I don't know. But regardless, I hope you're all doing well. I wish you all a very happy holiday season. I'm actually on my way in to see Brother Mitchell. He probably will not watch this. We'll see if he does. This is a test, Hunter. I hope you're doing well. Give my best to all of your families and your loved ones at this holiday time. And until next time, this is your commissioner saying, forget about it. Go fuck yourself. See you later.